For this interview on Coming Up with Manny, we have Tyler Yocum. He's an artist, he's a potter, I forgot what the other names of the things was, but you'll find it out in the interview. Check it out, enjoy it.
If I could only fly, I would fly so high, I would kiss the sky. It'd be so, so right, so right, so right. If I could only fly, I would fly so high, I would kiss the sky. It'd be so, so right, so right, so right.
My name's Manny. You're on Coming Up with Manny. What's your name, bro?
I'm Tyler Yocum.
Alright, so I've seen your, what is it fucking called, your pottery stuff? Yeah. So what exactly do you do?
Mainly what I do is I like to make functional art ceramics ware on the pottery wheel. Things like cups, mugs, bowls, vases, things of that nature, just trying to make something to put out in the world for someone else to use.
How the f*** did you get into that?
Well, it all started like in high school because you have these classes and stuff, and I played football throughout high school, and I thought that was going to be like something that was in my life forever. And then injuries and concussions started to come, and I just felt like that it was time to make a change, and I couldn't do the whole football thing with multiple concussions in a year and having severe concussions out for 3 months and stuff like that. And the only thing that I had that didn't give me a headache or anything like that was working with clay and doing artwork and stuff.
Alright, me being an athlete, I used to play soccer and do everything. I don't think I would have the patience for that. Like, I don't know that many athletes that would, because a lot of athletes, like, they like to be very active the whole time. And what I see you doing in those videos that I've seen on Instagram, you're literally, like, holding it in one spot, moving it slowly. I'm like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's different schools of thought. Like, I felt like, especially when it came to things like training for football, I had to pull from that a lot, from all of these things where you had to, sitting in ice baths and sauna sits and just having to do that and having that patience to sit there even though it might suck at the moment. It drawing from that made me feel like I could do this stuff easily for hours at a time.
So when did you really start getting into it? Because obviously you're an artist as well. So did you start with the art first and then like slowly transition into it?
I started with the sports first, and then once sports wasn't an ability anymore, once I got medically not cleared to play contact sports anymore, I felt like I had nothing, but I had this thing that I kind of liked in high school. And then my senior year of high school, I really started to go full force into it and start thinking about this as something I can do for the rest of my life.
How'd you deal with being told? Because obviously you've probably been playing football since you were young, right?
Mm-hmm.
How'd you deal with them telling you, hey, you can't do what you love anymore?
It was a really tough time for me. I went into my senior year thinking that I was going to have a blast in my last year of football, and I quickly, in summer camp, I broke my finger and my hand, and then that kicked me out for a few weeks, and I was really excited to get back, and then a week later I got a pretty high-grade concussion, and it knocked me out for the rest of the season. and I kind of had to sit on the sideline and accept the fact that I couldn't play football anymore. And I think that if I didn't have found art, I would have really struggled a lot more with accepting that I couldn't play football anymore. But being able to find something that I can completely channel all of my effort into really made everything easier for me.
So you just pretty much put all your focus into your art, which is good.
Absolutely.
Which is good because a lot of athletes, like when I was in high school, like I had colleges looking at me, but I just pretty much stopped going to school. I didn't have the discipline to keep doing it. And then when I noticed that there was no other option, I just joined the military. So when I did that and got out, and I saw all my buddies playing pro soccer, like all these guys I used to compete against and everything, I just like mentally I felt defeated. But I kind of used that to be like, all right, I'm not gonna let this happen again. Let's put my head in the books. Let's start working towards making myself better in another way. So that's pretty much what you did, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of that you have that moment where you realize that you actually can't do this anymore, and that you can't just sit around thinking about how much you want to keep doing it.
Do the concussions affect you at all when you're doing your work?
I don't think so as much as when I'm doing my work. I think if anything, doing what I do helps me with some of the things. Like when I was dealing with the post-concussive syndromes during that extended period of time in my last concussion, throwing on the wheel and working in the art room, I didn't have to sit looking at a worksheet trying to do AP statistics math all the time and just racking my brain sitting there with a pounding headache. Instead, I could go to this room in school that I can just relax and work without really thinking.
When did you find out you had an artistic mind, though? Like, were you at a young age, did you know, like, hey, I'm actually pretty good at coming up with some cool stuff?
I never really thought about me being an artist really until it was always that I was an artist second, and an athlete first, and then a student. And once I really accepted the fact that maybe sports wasn't the thing for me, I started to realize how I could come up with things, how things got put together in my head, how the creativity was allowed to flow more when I let go and stop thinking as much. When in football and school, it's all you do this and you do it in a routine. You wake up, you go to school, you go to class, you go to practice, and you go to sleep, and then you repeat. With art, it's like each time I walk into that classroom, I'm doing something different.
You feel free, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, obviously you're not in school anymore doing it, or are you?
I'm going to college up in upstate New York at Alfred University.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How's New York?
It really isn't much in New York. It's really out in the boonies. It's a school of like 1,000 people, so it's smaller than my high school was. So it was a bit of culture shock going there. But the facilities I'm working in are top of the line. I've never been around so many great professors and such great equipment around me.
That's awesome. So you're learning a lot, but how, like, is that the program that you wanted to choose? Like, is that where you wanted to go?
Yeah. I actually applied there at first, not thinking I was going to get in. For what I applied for is a really prestigious program. It's one of the top in the nation for it, and I kind of applied there thinking, why not apply? You might get in. And when I got in and I got a scholarship, I was super excited to dive headfirst into something like this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What year are you in right now?
I'm in the second semester of my junior year, going into my senior year next year.
Hey, we're in the same boat. Yeah, and I'm trying not to coast, but it's kind of going to the.
Yeah, one thing, like the stereotype of art school when I was in high school and started in community college was like, oh, it's not that much work, it's just art school, but it might not be as much like book work and homework and studying. But if you're not spending all your time in the studios, you're absolutely behind. I spend at least 10 to 12 hours in the studio trying a day, because I wake up and you go to the classes in the studios, you stay to work, and then you usually carry into late night and lose your time.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of time. So
Yeah, you
so
try and make the most of your time in the studio.
so what are you trying to do after you graduate? Like, or first off, what do I call you? Like, you could say, like, for other people, they're painters, they're sculptors. Like, what do you call, like, what you do?
I mean, people say potter, people say makers, potter, makers, ceramicist. I don't hear that all that often, but I've heard a select few say that. But
I like Potter. I'm gonna call you a Potter.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So what are you trying to do when you graduate?
When I graduate, I'd love to. Throughout my community college here, I worked with a great guy named Carl Mankert who works on and services kilns throughout the kilns, which are the pretty much ceramic ovens where you heat up your pieces to get to the point where they're not that brittle and break apart. They're actual non-porous ware that you would use in your household. And he works and services kilns out here in Chicago. And I was able to work with him and really be able to learn so much great stuff from him. And he was a great mentor to me. And I would love to be able to work in that field of working in kilns, maybe even owning my own studio. But that's something I want to build up to, is owning my own studio.
Thank you to the creative mind Dante Rohel for coming up with Manny's logo. I appreciate all the hard work you did, and man, check him out at @Drogalart on all social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, and check out his pyro work. His artistic mind is creative as Check him out, cause he has some. Not only, I don't even know what that pyro work's called, but that dope. He like burns pictures into wood. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. But it's dope. Check him out at Drogalart. He's got some amazing pyro work. He's got some creative paintings. He does artwork. If you need anything for your family members, for like presents, birthdays, anything, hasta quinceañeras, I think. Check him out and support a fellow paisa, por favor. Hey, everybody has to have a dream, right?
Yeah.
Alright. So, how did you meet Kyle?
Oh, okay. So that's a story and a half. We both went to high school together, and we met. Well, I met him through my brother, and they were in gym class together, and him and my brother hit it off really quickly and became best friends. The first time I met Kyle was I got into my brother's car, and Kyle's in the front seat being Kyle, and he does like 3 takes looking at me. And he turns to my brother and says, "Is that your little brother?" And my brother turns to him and goes, "Oh, no, not at all." And we drive for like another 4 or 5 minutes. And then he has just this puzzled look on his face the whole time. And he looks at my brother and goes, "That's absolutely your brother. You lied to me. We picked him up from your house." And so that was my first time meeting Kyle. And then once my brother graduated, me and Kyle ended up having gym class together, and that's when our relationship kind of like became really strong, and we became pretty much best friends because we were just always around each other. We're eating lunch together, we're hanging out, and he's just a really cool guy who likes to say it how it is.
That's good, man. And he talks very highly of you. Like, he loves your artwork. He showed me. And so, since you guys are best friends, are you into gaming as well?
Yeah, I mean, when I can, I play video games. At school, it's not as much, but when I come home, I catch up sometimes. I never play enough for his liking, but we still like to talk about video games a lot.
Yeah, because what, besides the pottery class, what kind of art classes do you take at that school?
One more time, I didn't catch that.
Like, besides the pottery class, what kind of what other classes, like art classes, do you take at that school? Or is it just plain pottery that you're doing?
Oh, it's all over the place. Right now, I'm taking a pottery class. I'm taking a tile making class. I'm taking a glaze calculations class where we're making and developing glazes to go on different artwork. I'm in a figure drawing class. Last semester, it was sculpture. It was just all over the place. It really is a program that tries to gear you towards what you want to do after learning how to live studio lives in your first few years.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. So you get to try a lot of different stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, leading you up to your senior year where like you get to choose what you do. It's your own independent style study.
So the pottery that you're making now, do you sell it as well? I didn't get into it. Yeah.
I sell it a little at school. I'm working on either popping up a website to start selling online or starting up an Etsy. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna start shipping things when I start that up, and I'm really excited to start getting into more selling of the stuff.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be interested in, because you have some pretty cool designs.
Thank you very much.
So when you're in the creative process, how do you say, all right, this is what it's going to be? Or do you just start and then like slowly things start coming to your mind, or how does it work?
For me, it kind of depends on what I'm doing. If I'm going on my bigger scale work, I usually do try and I will figure it out as it goes, because it's kind of a give and take for how I do things. I could start doing something and think this is how it's going to be, and then I'm done. I'm like, okay, this looks nothing like it, but I do like it, so I'm not going to be changing it. When it's my smaller work, my cups and mugs, I usually try and sketch stuff out before to be able to have a uniform body of what I'm going to be making, instead of having to make different things for each individual style cup, mug, or bowl of that nature.
So I know like some artists, they like use scales or like rulers to kind of get it perfectly sized. How does it work when the fucking thing is spinning? Like how do you do that shit?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, like, to really be able to size and scale things. Stopping the wheel is a very important part of it. A lot of people think that it just needs to stay spinning the whole time. Stopping to measure is a big part of it, yeah.
Okay. And the tools you use, like, do you have to practice with them without the clays? You know how like a lot of tattoo artists, they like use oranges and stuff like that to kind of work on. Like, what do you use? Like, how do you practice with those tools without actually being on the pottery thing?
I guess instead of how you would have like a tattoo artist practicing on oranges or stuff like that, learning how to use a new tool, it just kind of takes time. So you would, instead of sitting down and throwing 20 mugs, you would throw something, even if it was just a cylinder, to practice to see how you need to hold it, how it actually works, learning that tool. It kind of would, I guess, bounce artist to artist. Some just jump right into their work. Some feel like they need to test it out with stuff that isn't their work before they use their own work.
What kind of person are you?
I personally just jump right into it. I don't really.
You say fuck practice and then just.
Yeah. I don't really think too much when I do. I just kind of jump right in. If it's a new tool, I'm willing to fail.
Hey, we all gotta. Even if we fail, we're not really failing. We're practicing, trying it. Yeah. Is that the school you go to? On your the logo?
Yeah, that's Alfred University.
School pride.
Yeah.
So, since it's a small school, how is the community? Like, do you get close to just like the people that are around you?
We don't have sororities or fraternities on campus. We there just aren't on our campus. Mainly the community's a pretty tight knit community. Depending on what you're doing, having friends outside of the art, because there's art school, there's business school, and there's engineering school there. So depending on what you do outside of your class time will depend on like what kind of community or group of friends you're in. But I would say it's a pretty open campus, and it's a smaller community, so it's a lot more tight knit than most, I would think.
So, when you found out about your concussions and not being able to play football, how did your family react when you said, "Hey, this is what I want to try. This is what I want to do"?
At first, I feel like it was like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to make a living doing this? And then once they saw that I kind of had a knack for it and I really worked hard while doing it, they were easily accepting of it. I'm sure that it wasn't easy at first. It took me a little while to decide that art is going to be my major. I was bouncing back between education and art the whole time, and the decision was pretty easy for me. It was a mixture of my parents making sure that they tell me that don't go through life doing what you do to make a dollar. Make sure you love what you do, and then working will be easy. So learning that really helped the decision. I think it was something that helped them support me too.
You have some smart parents, man, because I know a lot of people that make a lot of money who hate their lives. And I know a lot of people that make a little bit of money, or what some people consider a little bit of money, but they're happier than anybody in this world. So as long as you're doing what you love to do, man, go for it, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely blessed.
How old are you right now?
I'm 23 years old.
23? Okay.
Yeah.
You're still young, man. Still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So, you're graduating next year. Are you going to try to jump into the workforce right away, or are you going to try to take a little time to kind of get more creatively better, or?
I still have like decisions to make on that, whether I can put together something in New York or come back to here in Illinois. I haven't made a full-fledged decision yet because I still have a whole year and a half for something to possibly come up, and then I have to change everything. So I don't like to make decisions immediately.
Take your time, man. You still got time. So, you're in New York. It's a huge hotbed for artists. So
Yeah.
in Chicago, I know it's kind of like an artistic area as well. But New York I don't know, to me it feels like there's a lot more options for you out there, right?
Yeah, most likely, yeah. I know both of them have a very large art scene right now. I don't really think that it's one of the. I know the community that I'm in right now, separated from New York City, is a lot more opportunities than being in Chicago. Just with the type of learning and the place where I'm at can provide is a lot better than coming here to Chicago. But I definitely think that New York is the place to be. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now, and I'm just looking forward to the future at this point.
That's good, man. Like you said, you're already taking your time with it, which is good.
Yeah.
Don't rush into it, especially with the art. It's never gonna go away. You're still gonna have it in you. But just keep doing it. Like, don't stop.
Yeah.
How does it work when you come home, though? Like, do you just say, I don't want to do any artwork right now, so you just come home and chill, or how does that work?
It'll kind of depend. There's places here that I know I could go work, but sometimes when I'm at school, I put a lot of stress on my body and in both like the work that I do and then how much sleep I get at school. And I know that burning out is a real possibility, and I've seen it happen before. So I take my time when I come home to kind of relax and decompress more than putting my nose right back to the grindstone as soon as I get home. So it's kind of like obviously it is a vacation because school is out of session, but I use it as a time to rest and recover so that I can go back as excited as I can be to start working again when I get back to school.
Dude, badass monkeys. Like, they're dope. So, you draw as well, right?
I draw a little bit from time. I'm not like super. I wouldn't say I'm a super talented drawer, but I can work with it.
So do you mostly do that stuff on the computer?
No, I don't usually use the computer. Usually it's all pen and pencil. I don't work too well with technology.
Man, obviously you have an artistic gift because those monkeys are pretty funny.
Thank you very much. You can find me on Instagram at Tyler Yocum 24 Ceramics. Hopefully by this summer I'll have the link to hopefully the Etsy page that I'll have up there, and you'll be able to find all my work and stuff there.
Hopefully you enjoyed this interview with Tyler Yocum. He's an artist. He's making sure he's doing everything he can to have a pottery near you. And if you like the interview, click like, subscribe, comment down below, and punch that bell. Or pirate that bell. Nobody's gonna give me Okay, at least give me the bottle of water. Oh yeah! Yeah, put that shit over here.
Johnny Walker Black.
I don't have a problem. I'm not an alcoholic.
Tyler's experiencing my new world. Tyler gets to experience you. Now he knows what I have to work with. At some point, I hope you
He's gonna edit what I'm about to ask you. He's about to edit out.
Okay.
You bet your sweet Bippy I did.